Welcome to today's Explainer. If you're looking to really understand the hidden currents that are secretly shaping global policy, technology, and finance, well, you are in the exact right place. Today, we're diving straight into a rather dense Daily Pulse intelligence briefing from August 8th, 2026. What we're unpacking here is a massive, and I mean massive, global oversight crisis that this specific briefing just blew wide open. And how are we doing it? By following the data. Let's get into it.
So our starting point today is the number 35. That is the total number of global intelligence events that were flagged in just this single day's briefing. Now I know what you're thinking, 35 completely separate events spanning different continents, cultures, governments. It can easily just look like random noise, right? But our goal here is to find the signal. And when you look closely at these 35 items, this undeniable, striking pattern emerges from all that noise. We're talking about a systemic breakdown in institutional integrity, and it's happening all over the globe, all at once.
Okay, let's dive into the structured path we're taking today. To really make sense of this dual crisis, we're going to start with number 1, a crisis of global oversight. Then, number 2, what happens when oversight fails publicly. After that, we'll look at number 3, expanding quietly without oversight. And finally, number 4, connecting the global dots.
All right, starting with section 1, a crisis of global oversight, finding the signal in the noise.
So if we look at the heavy concentration of these global intelligence hits, something really stands out. We've got 10 different incidents flagged globally, just regarding dark money and influence politics. Right behind that, 7 incidents centered squarely around legal and institutional integrity. And then following closely, we see state capture with 5 incidents and surveillance with 4. I mean, think about how incredibly unusual it is for dark money and legal integrity to just completely dominate the global intelligence radar on a single day like this. It tells us right off the bat that the intelligence community wasn't just tracking random isolated geopolitical events. No, they were tracking a systemic global pressure test. The literal bedrock systems that are designed to keep power in check, they are being strained simultaneously across borders.
Now, out of all that data, the dossier isolated 8 really high-signal events that split perfectly into this fascinating framework. It's basically 2 sides of the same coin. On one side, we have what we're calling failing publicly. These are your established institutions showing highly visible fractures right in broad daylight. But then on the flip side of that coin, we have systems expanding quietly. This is where entirely new technological networks and policies are growing rapidly, but without any matching checks or balances to actually keep them accountable.
Which brings us to section 2, when oversight fails publicly, institutions fracturing in the light. Because it's one thing when brand new tech causes issues, but it's entirely another when our most established systems start fracturing in full view.
And this brilliantly illustrates that exact point. The brief highlights 3 completely disparate events from around the globe, but they all share the exact same underlying mechanism: bureaucratic failure. First up, we have the U.S. Government Accountability Office basically reporting that federal agencies are still lacking basic fraud risk safeguards. I mean, these are incredibly established agencies, and they're struggling to just protect public funds. Then, jump over to Australia. We're seeing an evaluation show that their under-16 social media ban is actually failing its very own effectiveness metrics. It's a classic case, right? Legislation that sounds robust on paper, but just kind of collapses when confronted with reality. And finally, in Turkey, intelligence flagged a corrupt pipeline being utilized against the mayor of Ankara, basically using financial audits as a weapon to trigger criminal charges. So from Washington to Canberra to Ankara, we are observing a clear, undeniable global pattern. Public institutions, totally regardless of the country or the specific policy goal, are visibly fracturing under pressure.
So public systems are breaking down. We can clearly see that. But that actually leads us to a much more alarming question. What happens when systems bypass oversight entirely? What happens when they operate in spaces where the public isn't even looking? That takes us right into section 3, expanding quietly without oversight, tech and policy in the dark.
Okay, let's look at this number. 350,000. It's a massive figure, for sure. But what makes it absolutely critical to our explainer today is the sheer scale of covert data collection that it actually represents.
That number represents 350,000 Uber and Lyft dash cams. According to this really standout investigation by 404 Media that was flagged in today's brief, a license plate reader company called Flock put together an undisclosed pitch. The goal? To convert hundreds of thousands of those rideshare and delivery dashcams into a massive, privately run mobile surveillance network. Just imagine this for a second. You order a rideshare.
You hop in the back seat. You're just going about your day, totally unaware that the car's dash cam is secretly cataloging your entire neighborhood. It's tracking license plates and feeding all that location data directly into a private database. And remember, this isn't some government program going through public hearings of local town halls. No, this is an attempt to create a totally unregulated mobile surveillance dragnet, operating right in plain sight on the dashboards of everyday vehicles. It perfectly encapsulates this whole concept of a system, expanding quietly, completely devoid of institutional oversight.
And if that flock story wasn't enough on its own, the dossier reports that it landed on the exact same day as 3 other global examples of data access systems expanding without oversight. First, the brief flags an investigation into Europol staff allegedly running illegal data analysis platforms right under the noses of European regulators. Then, on a more local level in the US, it notes the Chico Police Department sharing automated license plate data with ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, as well as, get this, 20 other federal agencies. That is a massive chain reaction of local data filtering all the way up to federal dragnets without direct local oversight. Finally, down in South America, it tracks entirely new platform liability decrees in Brazil. These are sweeping rules dictating exactly who is legally responsible for what gets posted online. So the structural reality staring us in the face here is overwhelming. Vast amounts of data and influence are just completely bypassing traditional checks and balances.
Which leads us nicely into Section 4, connecting the global dots, tracing the networks.
So the crucial point is really how global networks take advantage of these very oversight gaps we've been talking about. The intelligence brief points out one incredibly clear cross-geography bridge in the day's intake, the Atlas Network. Now, for a little context, the Atlas Network is this global network of think tanks and lobbying groups. And the brief flags them appearing independently in 2 completely different regions on the exact same day. On one hand, we have a report from Dataclave in Argentina detailing a web of influence in South America. But then, on the other hand, we have a report from Imani Ghana Web detailing funding opacity over in Africa. What we are looking at here is the connective tissue. It demonstrates perfectly how a highly organized, well-funded infrastructure can operate globally, just shifting influence and cash right through those exact institutional blind spots we've been discussing.
When you really step back and look at this intelligence as a whole, a very clear, unmistakable narrative emerges. The recurring footprint of dark money and influence politics actively leverages these institutional blind spots globally. Think about it. We started out by looking at public agencies failing to manage just standard oversight. Then we saw these massive surveillance networks trying to quietly expand in the dark. And finally, we saw how global funding networks operate right in the gray space between those 2 realities. Guys, they all feed off each other. The public failures create the distraction. The quiet expansions create the opportunity. And the dark money, well, it funds the entire cycle.
Which leaves us with this final, genuinely vital question to ponder. If our highly established institutions cannot even manage today's highly public failures, how on earth will they handle the quiet, massive technological expansions of tomorrow? It is a structural crisis, and it demands our active attention. Thanks so much for joining this explainer, and remember to always keep questioning the systems operating around you.